The scent hit Kael before his eyes found the source. Blood, fear, and something else that made his wolf surge against his ribs like a caged storm. He raised one fist. The patrol behind him froze mid-step. Dawnlight broke thin and cold over the ridge, painting the pines in shades of ash and amber. His territory line ran invisible through the underbrush here, marked by scent and instinct more than stone. Nothing crossed it without his knowing. Until now. She lay crumpled at the border, half hidden in the bracken, dark hair matted with dirt and worse. Clothes torn. One arm flung forward as if she'd been reaching for something just out of grasp. Kael's boots crunched through frost as he closed the distance. His beta, Ronan, moved to intercept. Kael, wait. He didn't wait. The woman's breathing came shallow and uneven. Her skin had gone pale beneath the grime, lips tinged blue. Bruises mottled her throat, her wrists. Fresh cuts crossed her forearms, in defensive patterns he recognized too well. She'd fought someone. Fought hard. His wolf growled low, a sound that never made it past his chest. The urge to shift, to hunt, to tear apart whatever had done this, thrummed hot beneath his skin. Ronan crouched beside him, voice low. Could be a trap. She's dying. Could still be bait. Kael reached out, fingertips brushing the pulse point at her throat. Her heartbeat fluttered weak and fast under his touch. The bond snapped into place like a bone setting. He jerked back, breath-catching. No, not now, not like this. His wolf didn't care about timing. It surged forward, claiming, demanding. Mine. Ours. Protect. Ronan's eyes widened. Kael. I know. His voice came out rougher than he intended. You're sure? He was sure. Every instinct in his body screamed it. The scent beneath the blood and fear, wildflower and rain, and something uniquely her. It wrapped around him, sank into his lungs, burned. Mate. His hands shook as he slid one arm beneath her shoulders, the other under her knees. She weighed almost nothing. Too light. He pulled her against his chest and rose. Her head lolled against his shoulder. Ronan stepped into his path, jaw tight. If she's a plant, if this is Thorn or the Eastern Pack looking for a way in, then they just made a fatal mistake. Kael met his beta's eyes. Move. Ronan held his ground another beat. Pack law said caution, strategy, but the bond said something older. Finally, Ronan stepped aside. The patrol fell in around them as Kael turned toward home. No one spoke. The forest swallowed their footsteps, and the woman in his arms didn't stir. He tried not to think about how fragile she felt, how her scent had already wrapped around his wolf like a chain, how she might wake up terrified of him. His quarters sat at the heart of the pack house, stone walls thick enough to muffle sound and hold warmth. He shouldered through the door and carried her straight to the bed. Ronan hovered in the doorway. I'll get Mira. Tell her to hurry. The door clicked shut. Kael knelt beside the bed, pulling a blanket over the woman's still form. Her face looked younger in the lamplight. Mid-20s, maybe. Fine-boned and fierce even in unconsciousness. A cut above her eyebrow had bled down her temple into her hair. He fetched water and cloth from the basin, hands steadier now with purpose. The bond pulled at him, urging him closer, but he forced himself to move carefully. She didn't belong to him just because fate said so. He cleaned the blood from her face first, her brow, her cheek. The gash wasn't deep, but it would scar. His wolf snarled at the thought of someone striking her. When he moved to her hands, he found her knuckles split and swollen. She'd landed hits. Good. Bruises circled both wrists in fingerprint patterns. Someone had held her. Hard. His vision edged red. He set the cloth aside and stood, pacing to the window. Outside, the pack stirred toward morning routines. Smoke rose from the kitchens. Voices drifted, easy and safe. She'd crossed into his territory alone, half dead, running from something. From someone. He knew that look. The defensive wounds. The way she'd collapsed right at the border, as if she'd spent her last strength reaching sanctuary. The door opened. Mira swept in, healer's bag already in hand, silver braids swinging. Her gaze flicked from the woman to Kael and back. Well? She moved to the bedside without hesitation. That's unfortunate timing. Can you help her? I can try. Mira's hands moved quick and sure, checking pulse, pupils, the angle of the woman's breathing. She's in shock. Dehydrated. Looks like she's been running for days. Will she live? Mira pulled back the blanket and hissed softly at the bruises. If infection doesn't set in... Yes. But Kael... She glanced up, eyes sharp. This woman's been through hell. And if you're feeling what I think you're feeling... I am. Then you'd better be ready for her to bolt the second she wakes. Mira reached into her bag, sorting vials. Wounded wolves don't trust easily. Especially not alphas. He'd already thought of that. It sat like a stone in his chest. Just keep her alive. I'll do my best. Mira soaked a cloth in something pungent, pressing it to the woman's wrists. But you need to give her space when she wakes. Let her see you're not a threat. Kael looked at the woman's face, still and pale against his pillow. His wolf didn't want space. It wanted to guard, to stay close, to make sure nothing ever hurt her again. But Mira was right. He'd have to try. He kept vigil from the chair by the hearth, far enough to give her room but close enough to hear every breath. Mira worked in silence, cleaning wounds, wrapping ribs, murmuring soft words under her breath. The woman didn't wake. Hours crawled past. Outside, the sun climbed higher. Voices passed his door, but no one entered. Ronan would have spread the word by now. The alphas found his mate. Let him be. Kael watched the rise and fall of her breathing and tried to ignore the bond's insistent pull. She looked small in his bed, breakable. But her split knuckles told a different story. When Mira finally packed her bag, she paused at the door. She'll wake soon. Be gentle. I will. And Kael? Mira's voice softened. Whatever she's running from, it's bad. Don't push. He nodded. The door closed. Silence settled heavy. Kael leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and let himself look at her. Really look. His mate, found broken and bleeding at his border. His wolf stirred, restless and edged with fury that had nowhere to go. Whoever had hurt her, whoever had driven her to this, they'd answer for it. But first, she had to wake, had to choose to stay, had to trust him. He wasn't sure which would be harder. On the bed, the woman's fingers twitched. Her breathing changed, quickened. Kael went still. Her eyes moved beneath closed lids. Any moment now, she'd wake in a strange place, surrounded by unfamiliar scent, with an alpha she didn't know watching from the shadows. He should have moved farther back. Too late. Her eyes opened. Her eyes were gray, storm cloud gray, wide and wild with panic. She lurched upright before her body was ready. The blanket tangled around her legs. One hand flew to her ribs, the other braced against the mattress. Kael stayed in the chair, didn't move, barely breathed. Her gaze swept the room. Unfamiliar stone walls, the hearth, the narrow window. Then it landed on him. She froze. He watched her calculate. Distance to the door. His size. Her injuries. You're safe. He kept his voice low, steady. No one's going to hurt you. She didn't answer. Her breathing came too fast, shallow with pain. Kael raised both hands slowly, palms out. I'm Kael. This is my pack's territory. You collapsed at the border. Her throat worked. When she spoke, her voice came hoarse. Where? North Ridge. Dawn Patrol found you. He paused. You've been unconscious for hours. Her fingers curled into the blanket. He saw her notice the bandages on her wrists, the clean nightshirt someone had dressed her in while Mira worked. Panic flared fresh in her eyes. Mira's my healer, Kael said quickly. She treated your wounds, nothing else. You're safe here. Safe. The word came bitter. She pushed herself toward the edge of the bed, teeth gritted against obvious pain. I need to leave. You can barely sit up. I'll manage. She got her feet under her, stood. Her legs gave out immediately. Kael moved without thinking. He caught her before she hit the floor, one arm around her waist, steadying. She wrenched back with a sound caught between a gasp and a snarl. He released her instantly, stepping away, hands up again. She stumbled against the bed frame, eyes bright with unshed tears and fury. Don't touch me. I won't. His wolf howled at the distance, but he forced himself still. I'm sorry. You were falling. I don't care. Her voice shook. I don't. I can't. Her knees buckled again. This time, he didn't catch her. He stayed exactly where he was while she sank back onto the bed, breathing hard, one hand pressed to her ribs. Defeat washed across her face. Then something worse. Resignation. Kael's chest tightened. You're hurt, he said quietly. Mira said, you need rest. Food. At least a day before you should be moving. I don't have a day. Because someone's following you. Her gaze snapped to his, guarded. He didn't push, just waited. Finally, she looked away. It doesn't matter. It does if they cross into my territory. They won't. Her jaw set. Because I won't be here. Stubborn. His wolf approved even as frustration coiled through him. Kael moved slowly to the hearth, putting more space between them. He crouched and added a log to the fire. Kept his movements deliberate, non-threatening. What's your name? He asked. Silence stretched. Then, barely audible, Elara. Elara! He let the name settle. It fit her. Strong and careful. When's the last time you ate? She didn't answer. There's stew in the kitchens. Bread. I can bring something up. I'm not hungry. Your body needs fuel to heal. I said I'm not. I heard you. He straightened, met her eyes across the room. But you collapsed from exhaustion and blood loss. If you want any chance of walking out of here on your own, you need to eat. Her fingers twisted in the blanket. He saw the war in her expression. Pride against pragmatism. Pragmatism won. Fine, Kael nodded. I'll be back. He moved to the door, slow and predictable. His hand touched the latch. Why are you helping me? Her voice stopped him. He glanced back. She'd pulled her knees up, arms wrapped around them despite the obvious pain it caused, trying to make herself smaller. Guarded. His wolf ached. Because you needed it, he said simply. You don't know me. No. He held her gaze. But you crossed into my territory asking for sanctuary, whether you meant to or not. I didn't ask for anything. You didn't have to. He paused. The border's a threshold. You made it that far for a reason. Something flickered in her eyes. Fear. Hope. He couldn't tell which. I'll get food, he said. Door stays unlocked. You want to leave. I won't stop you. He stepped into the hall and pulled the door shut behind him, leaned against the wall and let out a long breath. His wolf snarled, furious at the distance, at leaving her alone, at the fear in her eyes when she looked at him. She didn't know about the bond yet, didn't know what she was to him. And he couldn't tell her, not now, not when she already looked ready to bolt. Ronan appeared at the end of the corridor, arms crossed. She awake? Yes. And she wants to leave. Ronan's expression didn't change. You gonna let her? Kael started toward the kitchens. She's not a prisoner. Even though she's your mate? Especially because she's my mate. He didn't slow. She's running from something, someone. She doesn't trust alphas. Then you've got a problem. I know. Ronan kept pace beside him. What are you going to do? Feed her. Keep her safe. Kael's jaw tightened. Give her a reason to stay. And if whoever's chasing her shows up, then they'd learn what happened when someone threatened what was his. But he didn't say that. Not yet. We'll handle it. The kitchen smelled like bread and herbs. The cook, old Marin, took one look at his face and ladled stew without asking questions. She packed it with cheese and half a loaf still warm from the oven. The girl? Marin asked. Word traveled fast. She's awake. Marin handed him the tray. Tell her she's welcome here. If only it were that simple. Kael climbed back up the stairs, tray balanced, and paused outside his door. She might have run already. Might have pushed past the pain and stumbled back into the forest. His wolf tensed. He knocked. Soft. Elara. I'm coming in. No answer. He nudged the door open. She was still there, still sitting on the bed, knees drawn up. But she'd moved closer to the window, as if checking escape routes. Relief flooded through him. Kael set the tray on the small table near the hearth. Stew, bread, water. She watched him like he might lunge. He backed away immediately, returning to the chair. It's there when you want it. Elara didn't move. Minutes passed. The fire crackled. Outside, voices drifted. The pack going about their day, unaware of the fragile thing happening in the Alpha's quarters. Finally, she unfolded herself, moved slowly to the table. Sat picked up the spoon. Kael looked away, giving her privacy, stared at the fire and tried not to think about how his shirt hung loose on her frame. How her hand shook slightly as she ate. How the bond hummed stronger now that she was awake. She ate in silence. Not much, but enough. When she set the spoon down, he heard the quiet exhale of someone who'd forgotten what safety tasted like. Thank you, she said softly. He looked over. You're welcome. Their eyes met. Held. For a moment, neither spoke. The bond pulled, insistent. Did she feel it? Even faintly. Her gaze dropped first. I'll leave in the morning, she said. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Kael leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Whoever you're running from, they won't touch you here. You have my word. She gave a bitter smile. You don't know what you're promising. Then tell me. Fear shuttered her expression. She shook her head. It's better if you don't know. Elara, please. Her voice cracked. Just let me rest tonight. I'll be gone by dawn. Everything in him wanted to argue, to demand answers, to make her stay. But Mira's words echoed. Give her space. Don't push. So he nodded. All right. Surprise flickered across her face, as if no one had ever respected her choice before. That alone told him more than she knew. Rest, he said quietly. I'll be nearby if you need anything. He rose, moved to the door. Kael? He paused. Her voice came small. Why does it feel like I know? You? The bond. She felt it. Didn't understand it yet, but she felt it. His wolf surged. He turned back, met her confused, searching gaze. I don't know, he lied gently, but you're safe here. I promise you that. She looked like she wanted to believe him. Kael stepped into the hall and closed the door. This time, he didn't walk away. He'd keep watch from outside. All night, if necessary. Because she might not trust him yet. But he'd already sworn himself to her protection. The bond didn't give him a choice, and even if it had, he would have made the same one. Elara didn't leave at dawn. She told herself it was because her body refused, because the room spun when she stood, because the ache in her ribs made breathing an effort and walking an impossibility. Not because of the way Kael had looked at her, not because of the strange pull she felt toward him, like gravity turned sideways. Not because she'd slept through the night without nightmares for the first time in months. She woke to pale sunlight slanting through the window and the smell of pine smoke. The room was empty. Kael had kept his word, stayed away, given her space. The tray from last night had been replaced. Fresh bread, sliced fruit, tea still steaming. He'd come in while she slept. Her pulse kicked with panic, then settled slowly. Nothing had changed. She was still dressed, still alone. The door remained unlocked. He could have done anything. Instead, he'd left breakfast. Elara ate sitting on the edge of the bed, watching dust motes drift through the light. Her body felt like one massive bruise. The bandages on her wrists had been changed sometime in the night. Mira's work, probably. She should go. Should slip out before the pack stirred fully, before Kael decided his hospitality had limits. Before Thorn's hunters picked up her trail. Her hands started shaking. She set the tea down carefully, breathing through the spike of fear. Thorn. Just thinking his name made her skin crawl, made the bruises on her throat ache fresh. She'd met him at a border summit 6 months ago. Her father's pack and his, negotiating hunting rights. Thorn had watched her across the fire with eyes that stripped and assessed. Alpha's eyes. Calculating. 2 weeks later, her father announced the engagement. "It's an honor," he'd said. "Alpha Thorn chose you specifically. This alliance will secure our position for generations." She'd tried to refuse. Tried to explain the cold weight of Thorn's attention, the way his smile never reached his eyes. Her father hadn't listened. The bond ceremony was set for the autumn equinox. No room for argument. No choice. Thorn visited often after that, brought gifts, spoke with her father while she stood silent at the edge of the room, ornamental. The first time he hit her, they'd been alone in the garden. She'd questioned one of his decisions. Something small, insignificant. He'd backhanded her so fast she hadn't seen it coming. "You'll learn," he'd said, gripping her jaw. "I don't tolerate disrespect." The bruise had faded by the wedding negotiations. She'd worn high collars anyway. It got worse. He wanted obedience. Silence. A mate who existed only to reflect his status. When she pushed back, even slightly, his control snapped. Her father saw the bruises, looked away. "Marriage requires compromise," he'd said. "You'll adjust." 3 weeks before the ceremony, Thorn told her he'd already marked her in his mind. That after the bond, she'd have no will of her own. That he'd make sure of it. She'd run that night. Took nothing but the clothes on her back and the desperate, dizzy hope that she could reach neutral territory before he caught her. She'd almost made it. His hunters found her 2 days ago, dragged her back half the distance. She'd fought, escaped again during a shift change, ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out and the border appeared like a miracle through the trees. Kael's border. She'd known it was pack land. Knew crossing without permission was dangerous, but staying was death. So she'd crawled forward and let the darkness take her. A knock pulled her back to the present. Mira entered without waiting for an answer, healer's bag in hand. "Morning. How are you feeling?" Elara straightened instinctively, guarded. "Fine. You're a terrible liar." Mira set her bag on the table and moved closer, efficient and unbothered by Elara's tension. "Let me check those ribs." She wanted to refuse, but Mira's hands were already gentle on the bandages, unwrapping, inspecting. "Healing well," Mira murmured. "No infection. You're lucky." Lucky. The word sat strange. "The bruising will fade in a few days," Mira continued, rewrapping with practiced ease. "But you need rest. Real rest. Not this half-conscious stubbornness you're attempting. I can't stay." "So Kael mentioned." Mira's eyes flicked up, sharp and knowing. "You planning to walk out of here on broken ribs and sprained ankles? Because that worked so well yesterday." Elara's jaw tightened. Mira sat back, studying her. "Whoever you're running from, they did a number on you. Defensive wounds on your hands, ligature marks on your wrists, bruising consistent with repeated trauma." She paused. "You were someone's prisoner." It wasn't a question. Elara looked away. "It doesn't matter." It does if he comes looking for you here. He won't. Her voice came flat. I'll be gone before that happens. And go where? Mira's tone softened, not unkind. You can barely stand. You have no supplies, no allies. How far do you think you'll get? Not far, she knew that. But staying meant putting Kael's pack at risk. Meant Thorn's fury landing here instead of some empty stretch of forest. She couldn't do that. I'll manage, she said quietly. Mira sighed, packing her bag. You know what I think? Does it matter? I think you're used to being alone, to fighting your own battles. And I think you don't know what to do with someone offering help without strings attached. Mira stood, slinging her bag over one shoulder. Kael's a good man, a good alpha. If he says you're safe here, you are. Elara's throat tightened. You don't understand. Then explain it to him. I can't. Can't or won't. Both. Neither. She didn't know anymore. Mira moved to the door, paused with her hand on the latch. For what it's worth, I've been pack healer for 15 years. I've seen Kael handle threats, challenges, bad situations. Never once seen him look at someone the way he looks at you. Elara's pulse stuttered. What do you mean? But Mira just smiled, sad and knowing. Ask him yourself. The door closed softly. Elara sat frozen, Mira's words circling like wolves. The way he looks at you. She thought of Kael's careful distance. His low, steady voice. The way he'd stepped back instantly when she'd panicked. Why does it feel like I know you? Her question from last night. His non-answer. Something hummed beneath her skin when he was near. Something that felt like recognition, like safety, like... No. She couldn't afford to wonder, couldn't afford to hope. Hope got you hurt. Kael didn't return until evening. She heard his footsteps in the hall, the soft knock. Coming in, he warned. She'd moved to the chair by the hearth, trying to look stronger than she felt. He entered with another tray, setting it on the table without comment. You didn't leave, he said. Couldn't. She hated how small her voice sounded. Not yet. He nodded, no judgment in his expression. Mira said you're healing. She talks too much. A faint smile touched his mouth. She does. Silence settled. Not uncomfortable, exactly, but weighted. Kael moved to the window, gaze distant. I sent scouts to sweep the southern border. See if anyone's tracking you. Her stomach dropped. You shouldn't have. I need to know if my pack's in danger. They are. Because of me. She stood, ignoring the protest of her ribs. That's why I need to go. Before he... She stopped. Kael turned slowly. Before who? Elara's throat closed. Don't say it. Don't give him a name. Don't make this real. Tell me, Kael said, and his voice had gone quiet. Careful. Who hurt you? The words stuck like glass. He crossed the room, stopped just outside arm's reach. Close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his brown eyes. Far enough that she didn't feel trapped. Elara, his voice dropped lower. If someone's coming for you, I need to know. Why? It came out broken. Why do you care? His jaw worked. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, barely audible. Because you're my mate. The world tilted. She stared at him, at the truth written in every line of his face. No. She shook her head. That's not. I can't. I know. Pain flickered across his expression. I know you don't want this. But it's there. The bond. You feel it too. That's why you asked last night. Her chest squeezed tight. The pull. The recognition. The way her wolf had settled the moment he'd caught her. Mate? Oh, gods. I didn't choose this, Kael said quietly. Neither did you. But it doesn't change what's true. He paused. And it doesn't mean I'll force anything. You want to leave. I meant what I said. I won't stop you. Tears burned her eyes. You should. You should throw me out before he comes. Who? She closed her eyes, whispered the name like a curse. Alpha Thorn. The temperature in the room dropped. When she opened her eyes, Kael's expression had gone cold. Dangerous. Thorn? He repeated softly. She nodded. He's the one who did this to you. Not a question. She nodded anyway. Kael's hands curled into fists at his sides. Tell me. So she did. The words came slow at first. Halting. Like pulling glass from a wound. She told him about the summit. The cold weight of Thorn's gaze across the fire. The engagement her father arranged without asking. Kael listened without moving. His expression stayed carefully neutral, but she could see the tension gathering in his shoulders. The way his jaw tightened when she described the first time Thorn hit her. He wanted control, she said quietly. Complete control. A mate who wouldn't question, wouldn't resist. Her fingers twisted together. The bandages on her wrists suddenly felt too tight. I tried to tell my father. He said marriage required compromise. Bitter laugh. That I'd adjust. Kael's hands remained fists at his sides. Your father let him. My father saw what he wanted to see. An alliance, status. She looked away. I was just the price. The fire crackled. Outside, evening shadows stretched long across the compound. 3 weeks before the ceremony, Thorn told me he'd already claimed me in his mind, that after the bond I wouldn't have a choice about anything, that he'd make sure of it. She heard Kael's sharp inhale, felt the fury rolling off him in waves. I ran that night, she continued. Made it 2 days before his hunters caught me. They were dragging me back when I escaped during a shift change. Her throat tightened. I didn't know where I was going. Just away. And then I saw the border markers. You knew it was Packland. Yes. You crossed anyway. She met his eyes. Staying meant going back to him. Crossing meant maybe dying free. Pause. It wasn't a hard choice. Kael moved then. Just one step, but she felt it like a shift in gravity. His voice came low and controlled, the kind of control that barely held. He's not getting you back. You don't understand. Thorn doesn't accept refusal. He'll come. He'll demand I fulfill the contract. Her hands shook. And when you refuse, he'll bring enforcers. He'll start a war over this. Let him. Kael, I mean it. His eyes had gone wolf gold at the edges. He put his hands on you, hurt you, tried to break you. He doesn't get to take you anywhere. It's not about what he gets. It's about what he'll do to your pack if I stay. My pack is strong. We've faced worse than one entitled Alpha with a God. Complex. She shook her head, desperate. You don't know him. He's ruthless. He'll use every law, every loophole, every alliance he has. And if that doesn't work, she couldn't finish. Then we'll handle it. Kael's voice gentled slightly. Together? No. She stood, ignoring the way her ribs protested. You don't owe me this. The bond. I didn't ask for it. You don't have to. This isn't about the bond. He cut her off, but carefully. Even if you weren't my mate, I wouldn't send an injured woman back to the man who beat her. That's not who I am. That's not what my pack stands for. Tears burned hot behind her eyes. You're going to get people killed protecting me. I'm going to protect someone who needs it. That's my job, my responsibility. He paused. And my choice. The last word landed soft but absolute. Choice. When had anyone given her that? Her knees went weak. She sank back into the chair, throat too tight to speak. Kael crouched in front of her, careful to keep distance between them. His eyes had returned to brown, warm and steady. Listen to me, he said quietly. You ran because you had no other option. But you have options now. You can stay. You can rest. You can let people help you. Pause. Or you can leave. That door's still unlocked. But don't run because you think you're protecting us. Let me decide what risks my pack takes. Why? It came out broken. Why would you do this? Because it's right. Simple. No hesitation. She stared at him. At the sincerity in his face. The complete absence of calculation or cruelty. He was nothing like Thorn. Nothing. The bond pulled, insistent and warm. Her wolf stirred, wanting to trust. Wanting to lean into the safety he offered. Dangerous. So dangerous. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Do what? Trust. Stay. Let someone... She gestured helplessly. Then don't. Not yet. Kael's voice stayed gentle. Just rest tonight. Heal. We'll figure out the rest as it comes. Before she could answer, boots pounded in the hallway outside. Ronan's voice carried through the door. Kael. Now. Kael rose smoothly, tension returning. He moved to the door, opened it just enough to see out. Ronan stood in the corridor, expression grim. Scouts just reported in. 3 wolves approached the southern border an hour ago. They're asking for an audience. Elara's stomach dropped. No. Asking? Or demanding? Kael's tone had gone alpha cold. Demanding. They say they're tracking a runaway. They want her returned by dawn, or they'll consider it an act of aggression. The room tilted. Kael glanced back at her. Their eyes met. She saw the question there, the confirmation he needed. She nodded once. Couldn't speak. Tell them no, Kael said to Ronan. Kael, they're claiming legal right. Contract law. Her father signed. I don't care what her father signed. She's under my protection now. They don't set foot in this territory, and she doesn't leave unless she chooses to. They invoked the council. If we refuse, Thorn can appeal to... Let him appeal. Let him bring the whole damn council if he wants. Kael's voice dropped dangerously low. The answer is no. Ronan's eyes flicked past him to Elara, then back. Understanding crossed his face. You're sure about this? Yes. Silence stretched. Then Ronan nodded. All right. I'll send word. He turned to go, paused. Kael, he's gonna push this. Hard. I know. Could get ugly? I'm counting on it. Ronan left. His footsteps faded down the hall. Kael closed the door slowly. When he turned back, the careful gentleness had been replaced by something fierce. Protective. Elara stood on shaking legs. He's already here. His scouts are. Not him. Not yet. He'll come. Her voice cracked. He'll bring enforcers. He'll invoke every law and challenge he can. And when I don't return... She couldn't finish. Couldn't say what Thorn would do. What he'd threatened. Kael crossed the space between them, stopped just close enough that she could feel his warmth. His steadiness. I need you to hear me, he said quietly. You don't have to go back. Ever. Not to him. Not to anyone. He'll say the contract. I don't care about his contract. You didn't agree. You can't consent under duress. Any council member with sense will see that. And if they don't? His jaw set. Then they'll learn what happens when someone tries to claim what's mine. The possessiveness should have scared her. Should have triggered every instinct that screamed run. But it didn't. Because beneath the alpha command, beneath the fury, she heard the promise. Protection. Choice. Safety. Everything Thorn had never offered. I heard them, she whispered. The scouts. Earlier, past the border. I thought I was imagining it. How long have they been tracking you? 3 days. Maybe 4. I lost count. She wrapped her arms around herself. Kael, If I let you do this, Thorn will make you regret it. He'll find a way. He always finds a way. Let him try. Kael's eyes held hers. Steady. Certain. I've spent years protecting this pack. I'm not stopping now. I'm not worth a war. That's not your call to make. It should be. Maybe. His voice softened. But you're not the one putting my pack at risk. He is. By refusing to accept your refusal. By sending hunters after someone who ran from abuse. By threatening my territory. Pause. This isn't on you. It's on him. Fresh tears spilled over. She wiped them away angrily. I don't even know why I'm crying. Because someone's finally listening. Simple. True. Her chest hitched. She wanted to argue. Wanted to insist she'd leave at first light. Spare him this. But exhaustion had settled bone deep. And beneath it, a tiny, fragile spark of hope. What if he meant it? What if she could stay? I'm scared, she admitted. I know. Not just of Thorn, of this, of you, of what it means. The bond. She nodded. I never wanted a mate, especially not an alpha. And now, you're stuck with one who's inconveniently determined to keep you alive. Despite everything, a sound escaped her. Not quite a laugh. Close enough. Kael's expression gentled. I meant what I said earlier. The bond doesn't obligate you to anything. Not your body, not your heart, nothing. He held her gaze. But it does mean I'll protect you, whether you want me to or not. Stubborn. You have no idea. This time she did laugh. Soft and broken, but real. Outside, the last light faded. Inside, the fire burned steady and warm. Kael stepped back, giving her space. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be complicated. You mean when Thorn demands I return and you refuse? Something like that. What happens then? His smile held no humor. We make sure he understands that no means no, even for alphas. Elara woke to voices outside the door. Low. Tense. She couldn't make out words, but the urgency pulled her from sleep like a hand around her wrist. She sat up carefully. Her ribs protested less today. The room felt warmer somehow. Safer. She'd slept again without nightmares. The door opened. Kael entered alone, his expression carefully neutral. They're still here, she said, not a question. At the border. They're not leaving until they get an answer. He moved to the hearth, stirred the fire. Thorn sent a formal demand. Claims you're bound by contract law. That your father's agreement supersedes your choice. Ice flooded her veins. So he's coming. He's requesting a meet. Neutral ground at the border. Noon today. Kael's jaw tightened. I can refuse. We can hold the border and wait him out. He'll escalate. Probably. She pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. What do you want to do? He looked at her then. Really looked. What I want doesn't matter. This is your choice. No, it's not. Her throat tightened. If I stay, if you refuse him, this becomes pack business. Your risk. Your people caught in the middle. They're already in the middle. From the moment you cross the border. He crouched in front of her chair, steady and close. But I won't drag you into a confrontation if you're not ready. I don't think I'll ever be ready. Then we hold the border. I send word that you're under my protection, and he can take it up with the council. And when he shows up anyway? Kael's eyes had gone hard. Then we deal with it. She studied his face. The certainty there. The absolute lack of doubt. When had anyone ever stood between her and danger without asking what she could offer in return? I want to face him, she heard herself say. Kael went still. Elara. Not because I owe him anything, because... She swallowed hard. Because if I run again, I'll always be running. And I'm tired. I'm so tired. You don't have to prove anything. I'm not trying to prove anything. Her voice strengthened. I'm trying to take back what he stole. My voice, my choice. Understanding flickered in his eyes. And something else. Pride, maybe. Or recognition. Then I'll stand with you, he said quietly. Every step. The bond pulled warm between them. She felt it more clearly now, that invisible thread connecting her wolf to his. It should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like an anchor. What do I say to him? She whispered. The truth. That you're staying. That the contract is void. That you choose sanctuary over coercion. He paused. And if words don't work, I'll make it clear he's not welcome here. He'll try to intimidate you. He can try. Kael. She leaned forward, urgent. He's dangerous, not just cruel, calculating. He'll look for weaknesses, ways to twist this. Let him look, she wanted to argue. Wanted to insist he didn't understand the kind of mind Thorn had. The way he moved through the world like everything existed for his taking. But the set of Kael's shoulders told her he understood perfectly. And wasn't impressed. They left for the border just before noon. Ronan walked beside Kael, quiet and alert. 4 other wolves flanked them. Pack members Elara didn't know yet, but who'd nodded to her with careful respect when she'd emerged from the Alpha's quarters. Like she belonged. The thought sat strange. Mira had rewrapped her ribs that morning, given her clean clothes, simple pants, and a soft tunic that didn't pull at her injuries. She'd tried to make Elara stay behind. You're still healing, Mira had said. There's no shame in letting Kael handle this. But Elara had shaken her head. I need to do this. Mira had sighed, resigned. Then don't let him bait you. Thorn's good at getting under skin. She knew. She'd lived with it for months. Now she walked through the forest toward the ridge where Thorn waited, and every step felt like walking toward an old wound. Kael stayed close, but not crowding. She felt his presence like a shield at her back. The trees thinned. Ahead, 3 figures stood just beyond the border markers. Her breath caught. Thorn stood center. Tall and broad-shouldered, with silver threaded through dark hair, he looked every inch the Alpha. Commanding. Controlled. Handsome, in a cold way that had nothing to do with warmth. 2 enforcers flanked him, both larger than Kael's wolves, both watching with predator stillness. Thorn's eyes found her immediately. His expression didn't change, but she saw the calculation there, the assessment, like she was a possession that had wandered off. Kael stopped 10 feet from the border, close enough to speak, far enough to make clear they weren't crossing. Alpha Thorn. His voice carried calm and absolute authority. You requested a meeting. Thorn's gaze flicked to Kael, dismissive. Then back to Elara. Elara, come here. Not a request, a command. Her body wanted to obey. Months of conditioning, of survival, screamed at her to move. She stayed exactly where she was. Thorn's eyes narrowed. Now. Kael shifted slightly, just enough to put himself more fully between them. She's not going anywhere. This doesn't concern you. Thorn's tone stayed even, but steel ran beneath it. She's bound by contract. Her father signed the agreement. She belongs with me. She belongs to herself, Kael said flatly. That's not how pack law works. It's how my law works. Silence stretched. Thorn studied Kael with the kind of focus that usually preceded violence. Then his attention returned to Elara. You've caused considerable trouble, running like a child, making me look weak in front of the council. His voice dropped. I'm willing to overlook it, this once, but you need to come home, now. Home. The word made her stomach turn. I'm not going back, she said. Her voice came steadier than she'd expected. I never agreed to any of this. I don't want the bond. I don't want you. Thorn's jaw tightened. Your father made a choice I didn't consent to. That's not binding. The council will disagree. Then let them. She stepped forward, out from behind Kael's shoulder, faced Thorn directly. I choose sanctuary. I choose to stay here. Whatever contract exists, I'm voiding it. Something flickered in Thorn's expression. Anger. Wounded pride. You don't have that right. Yes, I do. Her hands shook, but she kept them at her sides. Visible. Steady. I'm not your mate. I'm not your anything. And I'm done running because you won't accept no for an answer. Thorn took a step forward. His enforcers moved with him. Kael's wolves closed ranks immediately. Ronan's hand went to the blade at his belt. Kael's voice cut through the tension. That's close enough? Thorn stopped. His eyes had gone cold. Dangerous. You're harboring another alpha's mate. That's grounds for challenge. She's not your mate. She never agreed. Her agreement isn't required. The contract is void. Kael's tone dropped. Absolute. She came to my territory asking for protection. I granted it. That supersedes any agreement made without her consent. The council won't see it that way. Then we'll let them decide. But until they do, Kael's eyes flashed gold. She stays here, under my protection. And if you or anyone you send tries to cross my border to take her, we'll have a different kind of conversation. Threat hung in the air like smoke. Thorn's control slipped, just for a moment. His lips pulled back, canines showing. You're making a mistake. No, you made the mistake. When you thought you could break someone into compliance. Kael's voice stayed level, but fury burned beneath. When you put your hands on her. When you ignored every time she said no. She's mine by law. She's no one's. Kael took one deliberate step forward. Alpha presence rolled off him like a wave. And if you come near her again, law won't matter, because I'll end you myself. The forest went silent. Even the birds stopped singing. Thorn stared at Kael, then at Elara. His expression shifted. Rage barely leashed, pride wounded, plans unraveling. This isn't over, he said quietly. Yes, Elara said. It is. Their eyes met. She saw the moment he realized she meant it. That she wasn't coming back. That fear had finally been eclipsed by something stronger. Thorn turned without another word. His enforcers followed. They disappeared into the trees on the far side of the border. Elara's knees went weak. She locked them, refusing to collapse. Refusing to show weakness now. Kael moved beside her, close but not touching. You all right? She nodded. Couldn't speak yet. You did well, he said quietly. Better than well. He'll retaliate. Probably. We'll be ready. Ronan approached, expression carefully neutral. That went about as well as could be expected. He's going to appeal to the council. Elara managed. Claim I'm bound, that you violated territory law. Let him. Kael's jaw set. We'll handle it. She looked at him, at the certainty in his face, the complete absence of doubt. He'd just made an enemy of another alpha for her. Had threatened war, had stood between her and danger without flinching. The bond hummed between them, warm and insistent. Why? She whispered. Why would you risk everything for someone you just met? Kael's eyes softened. Because you're my mate. Because it's right. Because... He paused. Because no one should have to beg for the freedom to choose. Something in her chest cracked open, not breaking, unfurling. For the first time in months, she felt like she could breathe all the way down. They walked back to the compound in silence. The pack wolves peeled off one by one, returning to patrol or duties, leaving Kael and Elara alone on the forest path. Her hands still trembled. She kept them fisted at her sides, willing them steady. She'd done it. She'd faced Thorn, told him no in front of witnesses, in front of his enforcers. The words had left her mouth, and she hadn't shattered. But the adrenaline was wearing off now, leaving exhaustion in its wake. You should rest, Kael said quietly. She shook her head. I'm tired of resting, tired of hiding in your room like prey. She didn't finish, but he seemed to understand. Then walk with me. He led her past the main compound, down a narrow trail that wound through tall pines. The afternoon sun slanted gold through the branches. Somewhere distant, she heard children laughing. The normalcy of it made her throat tighten. They emerged at a clearing. A small pond reflected the sky, ringed by moss-covered stones. Peaceful. Quiet. Kael sat on one of the larger rocks. Waited. Elara lowered herself beside him, careful of her ribs. The stone held warmth from the sun. "This is where I come when I need to think," Kael said. "Away from the pack, the noise, the expectations." She looked at him. At the tired lines around his eyes she hadn't noticed before. "Being alpha is lonely," she said softly. "Sometimes." He picked up a pebble, turned it over in his palm. "Everyone looks to you for answers. For certainty. Even when you don't have it. You seemed certain today." "I was." He met her eyes. "About protecting you. About Thorn. That part was easy." "And the rest?" He was quiet a long moment. Then, "The bond. What it means. What you want it to mean." Her chest tightened. "I can feel it," she admitted. "More every day. This pull toward you. Like gravity." "I know. It scares me." "I know that too." She drew her knees up, wrapping her arms around them. The bandages on her wrists caught the light. Thorn's marks. Fading but still visible. "I don't know how to trust this," she said. "Trust you. I thought I could trust my father, thought he'd protect me. Instead, he sold me to someone who—" Her voice broke. Kael stayed still beside her, close enough she could feel his warmth, far enough she didn't feel cornered. "I can't promise I'll never make mistakes," he said quietly, "or that I'll always know the right thing to say. But I can promise I'll never use the bond to control you, never force you into anything, never make you small to make myself feel bigger." Tears burned her eyes. "That's what he did. Made me smaller and smaller until I couldn't recognize myself anymore. You're still you. Still whole. He didn't break you. You're here, aren't you? You survived. You ran. You fought. I got lucky." "No." Kael's voice turned fierce. "You were strong. There's a difference." She looked at him. At the conviction in his face. The way he spoke, like her survival mattered. Like she mattered. "I want to believe you," she whispered. "Then start small. Believe me about today, about standing with you, about meaning it when I say you're safe here. And tomorrow, believe me then too." Simple. So simple it almost hurt. The bond hummed between them, that invisible thread she'd been trying to ignore. It didn't feel like chains. Didn't feel like the suffocating weight of Thorn's claim. It felt like warmth. Like coming home after being lost too long. She reached out slowly. Her fingertips brushed the back of his hand where it rested on the stone between them. Kael went very still. She traced the line of his knuckles, the rough calluses, the steady warmth of his skin. He didn't move, didn't grab or demand, just waited. Permission. He was waiting for permission. She turned his hand over, palm up, traced the lines there, his fingers curled slightly, not trapping, just responding. "I don't know how to do this," she said. "Neither do I." His voice had gone rough. "I've never had a mate before, never wanted one until I saw you at the border, broken and bleeding and still fighting. And my wolf knew. Before I did. Before anything made sense." Her thumb found his pulse point. Steady. Strong. "What did your wolf know?" "That I'd spend the rest of my life keeping you safe. If you'd let me." She looked up. Met his eyes. Gold flickered at the edges again, wolf rising to the surface. "I'm afraid of how much I want that," she admitted. "How much I want to let you. What if I'm just trading one cage for another? Then I'll prove I'm not a cage. Every day, as many times as it takes." He shifted slightly. His free hand came up slowly, telegraphing the movement. His fingertips brushed her jaw. Featherlight. Asking. She leaned into the touch. Just barely. His thumb traced the line of her cheekbone. Gentle. Reverent. "You're beautiful," he murmured. "Not just your face. The way you stood up to him today. The way you're sitting here now. Terrified and brave at the same time." "I'm not brave." "You're the bravest person I've met." She gave a watery laugh. "You need to meet more people." His mouth curved. "Probably." They sat like that. Her hand in his thumb tracing soft patterns on her cheek. The sun dipped lower. The pond turned silver. "What happens now?" she asked. "With Thorn?" "With the council. Now we wait. See if he appeals. Prepare for the possibility he doesn't accept the ruling. You think he'll come back." "I think men like him don't let go easily." Kael's jaw tightened. "But I also think he's a coward. He picked you because he thought you were vulnerable. Alone. He won't expect resistance. He'll bring more wolves. So will I." She believed him. That was the terrifying part. She believed he'd stand between her and an army if he had to. "I don't want anyone hurt because of me," she said quietly. "They won't be hurt because of you. They'll be fighting because it's right. Because protecting pack, protecting those who need sanctuary. That's what we do." "I'm not pack." "You could be." His eyes held hers. "If you wanted." Her breath caught. "Kael. I'm not asking you to accept the bond. Not yet, but you could stay. Heal. Find your footing again. You don't have to decide anything else right now. And if I never want the bond? If I can't?" Pain flickered across his face, but his voice stayed steady. "Then you stay as pack. Under my protection. No strings, no expectations." "You'd do that? Even though you're wolf?" "My wolf wants you happy. Safe. If that means keeping distance, we'll manage." Tears spilled over. She couldn't stop them. He wiped them away with his thumb, infinitely gentle. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. "You deserve everything. You just haven't had anyone tell you that before." She turned her face into his palm, let herself lean into the warmth, the safety. His other hand came up, cradling her face. His forehead lowered to rest against hers. They stayed like that, breathing together. The bond sang between them. Not demanding, just present. Waiting. "I want to try," she said against his skin. "To trust this. To trust you. I don't know if I can, but that's enough. Trying is enough." She pulled back just far enough to see his face. The honesty there. The patience. What if I mess this up? What if I panic or push you away or... Then I'll wait. I'll give you space. I'll prove you can push, and I won't punish you for it. More tears fell. But these felt different. Cleaner somehow. No one's ever said that to me before. Then they were all fools, she almost smiled. Almost. His thumb traced her lower lip, asking again. Waiting. She closed the last inch between them. The kiss was soft, tentative. Just a brush of lips that sent heat flooding through her whole body. The bond flared, not overwhelming, but present. Right. Kael held completely still, letting her lead, letting her decide the pace and depth. She pulled back first, her heart hammered, but not from fear. "Okay?" he asked quietly. Yeah. Her voice came shaky. Yeah, I'm okay. He smiled then, slow and warm and full of promise. Good. They sat together as the sun set, his arm around her shoulders, her head resting against his chest, the steady beat of his heart beneath her ear. For the first time in months, Elara let herself imagine a future. One where she wasn't running. One where she could breathe, where touch meant safety instead of pain. One where she wasn't alone. 3 days passed in cautious peace. Thorn didn't return to the border. His scouts vanished from the surrounding territory. Ronan's patrols found no trace of rival wolves within a day's travel. Too quiet, Kael thought. Men like Thorn didn't retreat. They regrouped. He stood on the north ridge at dawn, watching mist rise from the valley. Behind him, the pack compound stirred to life. Voices carried on the morning air. Normal. Safe. He wanted to believe it would last. Elara appeared at his side, quiet as shadow. He'd heard her footsteps but hadn't turned. Giving her space to approach. To choose. Couldn't sleep? She asked. Thinking. About Thorn. Always. He glanced at her. She looked stronger. The bruises had faded to yellow-green. The limp was nearly gone, but shadows still lived in her eyes. She moved closer, stood beside him at the ridge edge, close enough their shoulders almost touched. Progress. Small and precious. You think he's planning something? She said. I know he is. Should I be afraid? He turned to face her fully. Do you trust me? She met his eyes, held his gaze without flinching. I'm learning to. Then trust that I'll handle whatever comes. He paused. But I won't lie to you. He's not done. And when he moves, it won't be subtle. She nodded slowly. I'm ready. You don't have to be. You can stay in the compound. Let me... No. Her voice firmed. I spent months being told where to go, what to do, who to be. I'm not hiding anymore. Pride flickered through him. And concern. And something deeper he didn't have words for yet. All right, he said quietly. Then we face it together. She smiled. Small and tentative, but real. His wolf stirred, pleased. The bond hummed warm between them. The messenger arrived an hour later. A lone wolf, young and nervous, carrying council colors. He stopped at the border and requested formal audience. Kael met him in the clearing where he'd faced Thorn. Elara stood at his side. Ronan and 2 others flanked them. The messenger bowed, careful and correct. Alpha Kael, I bring word from the Territorial Council. Speak. Alpha Thorn has filed a formal grievance. He claims breach of contract law and demands the return of his intended mate. The messenger's eyes flicked to Elara, then away. The council has reviewed his petition. Kael's jaw tightened. And? They've ruled in favor of personal autonomy. The lady's refusal stands. Any bond formed without mutual consent is void. The messenger pulled a sealed letter from his pack. This is the official decree. Relief flooded through Elara so fast her knees went weak. Kael took the letter, broke the seal, scanned the contents. His expression didn't change. There's more, the messenger said quietly. Alpha Thorn has invoked his right to challenge. Ice replaced relief. Challenge for what? Ronan demanded. For the lady. And for the insult to his honor. The messenger's voice dropped. Trial by combat. You or a champion of your choosing. 3 days hence. Neutral ground. Kael handed the letter to Ronan without looking away from the messenger. And if I refuse? Then the grievance stands unresolved. He can pursue other means, legal, political. Pause. Or he can claim you forfeited and take her by force. Elara's hands curled into fists. That's not legal. It is if you refuse the challenge. The messenger's tone held sympathy. I'm sorry. Those are the terms. Tell him I accept, Kael said flatly. Kael, no. Elara started. He turned to her. His eyes had gone gold at the edges. It's the only way to end this. He'll kill you. He'll try. She grabbed his arm. You don't understand. I've seen him fight. He's vicious. He doesn't follow rules. I know what he is. Kael's voice gentled slightly. And I'm not afraid of him. I am. It came out broken. I'm afraid of losing this. Losing you. I just found... She couldn't finish. His hand covered hers on his arm. Warm. Steady. You're not losing anything. You don't know that. Yes, I do. The certainty in his voice should have been arrogant. Instead, it felt like safety. The messenger cleared his throat. I need your formal answer. For the record. Kael looked back at him. Alpha command settled over his shoulders like a cloak. Tell Thorn, I accept his challenge. 3 days, neutral ground. And tell him when I win, he leaves this territory and never returns. That's my condition. The messenger bowed. I'll convey your terms. He left. Silence settled over the clearing. Ronan moved closer, voice low. You're sure about this? You have another option? Let me fight him, as your champion. No. Kael's tone left no room for argument. This is personal. Between him and me. Because of her. Because of what he did to her. Because of what he represents. Kael's jaw set. Because men like him need to learn there are consequences. Ronan studied him a long moment, then nodded. All right. Then we prepare. Train. Make sure you're ready. I'm ready now. Humor me. Kael's mouth quirked. Fine. Ronan left, taking the other wolves with him. Elara stood frozen, hands still shaking. Kael turned to her. Say it. Say what? Whatever you're thinking. I can see it eating at you. This is my fault. The words tumbled out. If I hadn't run here, if I'd gone somewhere else, you wouldn't. I'd do it anyway. He moved closer. Even if you weren't my mate. Even if the bond didn't exist. I'd still stand between you and him. Why? Because it's right. Because he hurt you. Because... He reached up, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Because I can't stand the thought of him anywhere near you. Her breath hitched. I'm going to win, he said quietly. And when I do, you'll never have to look over your shoulder again. Never have to run. Never have to be afraid he'll find you. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust the certainty in his voice. But fear had teeth. What if you lose? She whispered. I won't. But if you do, what happens to me? Pain flickered across his face. You run. Ronan will get you out, take you north, across the mountains. Somewhere Thorn can't follow. No, she shook her head. I'm not running anymore. Elara. If you lose, I face him. I end this myself. Her voice steadied. One way or another. He understood what she meant, what she was saying. His hands came up, framing her face. Don't even think that. Then, win. Tears burned her eyes. Please. Just win. I will. He leaned down, rested his forehead against hers. I promise. She closed her eyes. Let herself lean into his warmth, his strength. The bond pulled tight between them, no longer something to fear, something that felt like home. I don't want to lose you, she breathed. You won't. How do you know? Because I have something he doesn't. What? A reason to fight that matters more than pride. She pulled back, just enough to see his face. The bond. You. Simple. Absolute. I'm fighting for you. And I don't lose when it matters. Fresh tears spilled over. He wiped them away with his thumbs, gentle and sure. 3 days, he murmured. Then this is over. Then we can start building something real. Something safe. Promise me. I promise. She kissed him then. Not tentative this time, not questioning. A claiming, a prayer. A desperate hope wrapped in touch and breath. He kissed her back, careful even now. Even with urgency thrumming through both of them. When they broke apart, her heart hammered. His eyes had gone full gold. I need you to do something for me, he said quietly. Anything. I need you to believe I'm coming back. Her throat tightened. I'll try. That's all I ask. They walked back to the compound hand in hand. 3 days until the challenge. 3 days until everything changed. 3 days to prepare for a fight that would end with freedom, or loss too terrible to name. Elara looked at Kael's profile as they walked. At the set of his jaw. The determination in every line of his body. He would fight for her, would risk everything for her freedom. The bond sang between them, warm and certain. And for the first time since she'd collapsed at his border, she let herself believe. Not that everything would be all right, but that whatever came, they'd face it together. And maybe that was enough.